Divine message revealed, 3 miraculous confirmations of God's prophetic word for you today. Miriam knelt by her bedside, the flickering candlelight dancing shadows on the wall. Her heart beat with urgency as she whispered fervent prayers to St. George, pleading for guidance amid the struggles of raising her rebellious son, Ethan. Suddenly, a warm wind swept through the room, lifting her spirit higher. A vision flashed before her, golden rays of light enveloping her family, unity glimmering in their eyes. And there, in her quaint village, the church brimming with people, faith restored, joy bursting like spring flowers after winter's chill, tears of joy rolled down Miriam's cheeks. Hope pulsed through her, alive and vibrant. This was no ordinary dream, she could sense a divine purpose whispering in her heart. But, as with all things miraculous, skeptics lurked in the shadows. The tight-knit villagers, with their arms crossed and skeptical expressions, were ready to mock any hints of faith they didn't understand. Miriam could see the astonished faces of onlookers as she shared her vision at the Sunday service. Her voice trembled but held conviction. "I saw it. God has a plan for us," she cried. Yet chuckles erupted, echoing through the wooden beams of the church, each mockery a weight upon her heart. Doubt clawed at her spirit. Could her vision be true? Was she merely deceiving herself? Before she could spiral into despair, a shift stirred among the congregation. Old Mr. Thompson, gravely ill for months, rose from his sickbed while Miriam led a heartfelt prayer. Gasps filled the air as he stood tall, strength returning to his frail frame. The energy crackled, whispers of divine healing spread like wildfire. This was it. Hope ignited once more, the flames licking away shadows of skepticism, yet, just as the embers sparked, betrayal struck close to the heart. Ethan, lost in rebellion, unleashed fury upon his mother for her public displays of belief. "You've lost it, Mom. You're a laughingstock," he shouted, causing her heart to sink. Confusion swept through her. Was her calling a delusion? But as Miriam wrestled with doubt, another miraculous moment awaited. At an altar call, her son hesitated, then moved forward, his eyes filled with something unfamiliar. As he stood there, the air thick with anticipation, a wave of silence descended. His face transformed, a light igniting in his heart. Tear-soaked and broken, he whispered, "I want to believe, Mom, help me. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every heartwarming embrace between mother and son, the atmosphere shifted. The village began to whisper again, faces lighting with inspiration. Could faith truly flourish amid skepticism? Miriam felt her vision flickering back to life, but the question lingered, would love and belief unite her people, or would doubt snuff out the light? As she witnessed the miraculous transformations around her, she stood on the brink of a divine mystery, anxious for what would come next. Miriam's heart swelled with hope as she embraced Ethan, the warmth of their bond momentarily silencing the doubt that echoed in her mind. The church buzzed with renewed energy, a collective heartbeat of anticipation. She could sense the change in the air. Hearts were softening, faith was stirring. What had begun with her whispers of prayer now blossomed into a chorus of faith, like flowers daring to bloom after a long, harsh winter. "What now, Lord?" Miriam's soul questioned silently, imploring divinity to guide her steps through this sacred unfolding. The weight of responsibility rested heavily on her shoulders, but she refused to hide. "Let your light shine through us," she breathed fervently. The congregation watched as Ethan, still trembling, stood beside her, vulnerability bleeding into courage. With a gentle hand on her son's shoulder, she turned to the gathered faces, eyes lighting upon each one. "This is just the beginning," she proclaimed, her voice ringing like a bell. "God is moving among us. Let us come together as one family." In that moment, a hush enveloped the room, thick with reverence and expectation. Even the skeptical villagers began to lean in, curiosity piqued by the tenderness unfolding before them. And so, in that holy space, Miriam guided them to pray again, deeper this time, more unified. As they called upon heaven, a palpable warmth filled the air, weaving its way through the crowd. The flickering candlelight seemed brighter, almost alive. One by one, hands reached toward the sky like branches yearning for sunlight. Lord, heal our hearts, unite our spirits, and bring us together in your love. Miriam's fervent voice rose above the gathering, and her words took flight. Suddenly, an unexpected miracle unfurled before them. A young girl, struggling with a chronic illness for years, stepped forward. "I feel different," she gasped, eyes wide with bewilderment. Onlookers watched in awe as she took a tentative step, then a leap, joy bursting from her like a flower breaking through the soil. The laughter that followed echoed like divine music, filling the church with sweetness. New energy surged. The villagers stood, hearts alight. Hope blossomed in the dark corners of doubt, and as if summoned by the Spirit, more began to come forward, sharing their struggles, their aches and pains, seeking the same healing. "Let us heal together," shouted Miriam, tears of gratitude glistening on her cheeks. She dared to dream bigger, imagining the transformation of the whole village, broken people united under one tapestry of faith. Yet, in the midst of this wonder, an uneasiness gnawed at her heart. Ethan stood beside her, his expression shifting from courage to confusion. She sensed the shadows of doubt still clinging to him, threatening to quench the light they had just ignited. "Ethan," she said softly, kneeling to meet his gaze, "this is real. God is here with us. We must hold on to our faith, even in the face of uncertainty." He swallowed hard, uncertainty clouding his eyes before they met his mother's, reflecting a complex swirl of fear and hope. But what if it won't last? The question lingered, hanging in the air like an unanswered prayer. Before Miriam could respond, a warmth pressed through the room anew. Then came a voice, a distinct echo against the quiet. Miriam turned, her heart racing. Out from the back emerged old Mr. Thompson, the man who had risen from his sickbed, vibrant and strong. "I believe," he proclaimed, raising his hands high. "God has breathed life into us all. We need only believe." The villagers erupted into applause, but there in the midst of jubilation, a whisper beckoned. Was it a challenge? What awaits us if we dare believe? As she stood surrounded by hope, Miriam knew their journey was just beginning. The divine puzzle was unfolding, and each piece held the promise of transformation. How would they navigate the path ahead? What new revelations awaited them in their faith-filled quest? When hearts unite in belief, what miracles may yet be unfurled? As the echoes of applause faded, a hush settled once more, reverence returning like a gentle breeze that stirs the leaves. Eyes turned toward Miriam, the air thick with a spirit of expectancy. Her heart thrummed with urgency. Now was not the time for doubt, but for daring faith. Believing is just the first step. She called out, her voice ringing with conviction. Now, we must act together and seek the path the Lord has laid out for us. Each individual in the room felt the weight of those words, an invitation to deeper trust and engagement. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating a tapestry of grace. Miriam sensed the presence of the divine more intensely than ever. God was here, weaving through their lives, through their hearts. "Let us share our visions," she encouraged, urging them to voice their hopes, dreams, and fears before the Lord. One by one, villagers stood, each sharing profound dreams of what revival could mean for their community. A widower spoke of an outreach program that would provide food to the needy, while a teacher dreamed of opening the doors of the church for tutoring sessions, transforming hearts through education. Enthusiasm rippled through the congregation, hearts ignited by the spark of possibility. As the energy built, Miriam stepped forward, her eyes alight with purpose. "Let us pray about these visions together," she urged, feeling a flutter of excitement at the thought of God's unfolding promises. Kneeling before the altar, the entire congregation joined her, hands clasped, heads bowed in earnest prayer. Lord, Miriam breathed, you see the desires in our hearts. Confirm your will among us. Show us signs of your favor. In that moment of focused unity, an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped the room. The stillness was tangible, as if the very air shimmered with heaven's response. Miriam could almost hear the whisper of God, a gentle assurance settling over them like a soft morning dew. Suddenly, a sound like rushing wind swept through the church, lifting spirits and hearts alike. A bright light illuminated the altar, and a figure appeared gentle yet radiant. Gasps filled the church, as villagers exchanged looks of disbelief mixed with awe. It was a sight that felt both familiar and unimaginable, like stepping into a dream. I have come, the figure said, voice resonating like a melody of hope. You are not alone, and your prayers have reached the heavens. The presence soared around them, weaving love and connection into the fabric of their souls. Ethan, who had remained quietly contemplative, felt the warmth of the moment washing over him, washing away his fears. Mom, he whispered, tears pooling in his eyes, this is real. Yes, my son. This is our God, alive and working through us. Miriam replied, her voice breaking with emotion as they shared in a moment that would forever change them, but then, with a simple gesture, the figure raised a hand. Be watchful, it warned. Signs and wonders shall come, but remember, you will be tested. Your faith will be your anchor. Stay vigilant, and heed the call. And just like that, the figure faded, leaving a lingering sense of divine promise echoing in their souls. Miriam turned to Ethan, her heart alight with the urgency of their purpose. Did you hear that? She said, hardly able to contain her excitement. We must prepare ourselves. God has given us a mission. But amidst the excitement, a question curled in her heart, looming like a shadow at dusk. What trials would arise on this path of faith? And how would they stand firm when the winds of doubt blew? As the villagers discussed the day's revelations, an undercurrent of uncertainty whispered through Miriam's thoughts. Their journey had begun, but where would it lead? Would they face obstacles that would shake their newfound resolve? Miriam felt the weight of the challenge and knew, without a doubt, that this was just the beginning. What divine encounters awaited them? What steadfast courage would they need to cultivate, with their lives hanging on the edge of the extraordinary? They could only wait and prepare for the miracles yet to come. When faith was tested, what would be revealed? A sense of anticipation hung like a thick fog in the air, enveloping the villagers as they exchanged eager glances, each heart beating in sync with the rhythm of a shared purpose. Miriam felt a burning resolve within her, ignited by the vision cast before them. We must act. She declared, standing taller, each word infused with urgency. Let us not only dream but take steps forward. The murmurs in the congregation grew louder. Ideas blossomed as they excitedly debated how to turn their dreams into reality. With every suggestion, Miriam felt a familiar warmth spreading through her soul, a reminder that God was moving among them. Ethan watched his mother, admiration shining in his eyes. He felt a deep sense of belonging, as if the love and connectivity of the gathering wrapped around him like a blanket, offering both comfort and courage. Mom, I want to help, he said, his youthful enthusiasm shining brightly. Miriam knelt beside him, her gaze softening. Your heart is pure, my son. We'll need every willing hand. She squeezed his shoulder reassuringly. The night wore on, filled with laughter, ideas, and fervent prayers. Each person leaned into their faith, grasping for the blessings that lay just beyond their reach. But as they rejoiced in visions of hope, an unexpected stillness fell over the room. The flickering candles dimmed slightly, as if nature itself was drawing breath. Miriam raised her eyes, heart fluttering. What is happening? She whispered. The weight of anticipation was heavy, and she knew they were on the cusp of something greater. Then, a voice penetrated the silence. It was gentle yet commanding, reverberating through the rafters. I am here. Your desires are known. The figure re-emerged in shimmering light, this time more radiant than before. Hope surged like a tidal wave in the hearts of the villagers. "I come to affirm your mission," the figure spoke, each word draping warmth over the gathering. "You are called to be light in darkness, hope for the weary. But trials await." Miriam felt her heart clench. "Trials?" she echoed, unease creeping in. The figure nodded solemnly. "Yes. You will be challenged, but remember, the anchor of your faith will keep you steadfast." Ethan's small hand found Miriam's. "Mom, we can do this, can't we?" His innocence offered her strength. "With God on our side, nothing can stop us." "Exactly, my love," she replied, the faith in her heart swelling. "This is our promise. Even in the darkness, we will hold on to His light." In that moment, the figure reached out, scattering glimmers of light across the congregation. "Seek each other. Rely on your love and unity. Together, nothing is too great for you to achieve." As the light faded and the figure vanished, the villagers stood in stunned silence, absorbing the weight of the message. Excitement was mixed with trepidation as they processed what lay ahead. It was both exhilarating and frightening. Miriam gathered courage and spoke. "We must prepare, not just with our hearts, but with our actions. The world needs to see His love." She felt the atmosphere change around them, as a resolute conviction settled like a blanket over the congregation. As plans began to form once more, conversations fluttered like the wings of a dove, but with an undeniable thrum of urgency pulsing through. They had received a divine confirmation, and yet, the call to faith could not be without its challenges. The air buzzed with hope and fear, a tender reminder of the path ahead. Even as excitement stirred within, uncertainty lingered like a shadow. Could they stand firm when faced with opposition? With minds and hearts open, they received the gift of faith that night. But deep within, Miriam could not shake the thought, what could this testing look like? How would they navigate the turbulent waters? As the night waned, one act in her heart shimmered: they would embrace whatever came next, filled with the courage of their convictions, knowing they weren't alone. With the promise of light shining in their spirits, they took a collective breath. As they prepared for action, the question hovered in the air like a sacred cloud: what trials would they face, and how would their faith guide them through? With the echoes of the divine encounter still resonating in their minds, the villagers began to organize themselves. The warmth of shared conviction wrapped around them, blanketing doubt and fear. Miriam called them together, her heart a steady flame of purpose. "Let us form teams," she suggested, her voice strong against the lingering silence. "Each of you has gifts. Let us use them for His glory." Ethan's excitement bubbled over as he shouted, "I want to help the little ones. We can teach them about God." His joyful declaration ignited the crowd, lifting spirits like a gentle wind on a summer's day. "Then that shall be your task," Miriam replied, her eyes gleaming with pride. "You are a light, Ethan. Share it." As teams formed, laughter began to dance through the air, intertwining with the lingering awe of the recent revelation. They moved about, brushing away the shadows of uncertainty, those small murmurs transformed into whispers of hope. Every individual brought ideas: someone suggested a community garden, others proposed setting up food drives, and some thought of ways to spread kindness to the neighboring villages. The possibilities grew like wildflowers kissed by the sun, yet, even amidst this bubbling enthusiasm, a thread of unease lingered. The words "trials await" echoed in Miriam's heart. She took Ethan's little hand in hers, feeling the warmth of their bond, and sought to calm her own nagging doubts. "We're called to be brave, right?" she said, almost to reassure herself. As the group tackled tasks, a sense of unity began to flower. They worked together, each contribution delicately woven into a tapestry of collective purpose. Miriam watched as Ethan coordinated the children, leading games and stories that brought joy and laughter. She glanced around at the determined faces surrounding her. Faith was filling their purpose, igniting their actions. Then, everything changed abruptly. A loud crack echoed from the woods. The air grew heavy, and whispers of confusion ran through the group as heads turned towards the source. What was that? Someone said tentatively. Stay close, Miriam urged, a hint of fear threading through her calm demeanor. They huddled together, hearts racing. Suddenly, a figure dashed from the trees, breathless and wild-eyed. It was Anna, one of their elders, clutching her sides as if running had drained her entirely. Miriam! You must come! She gasped, her words tumbling out. It's urgent. You have to see this. Miriam's heart raced. What is it, Anna? What has happened? There's a light. Anna struggled to catch her breath. A light in the forest. Bright and unlike anything I've ever seen. The group exchanged glances, intrigue and fear sparking like static. What do you mean? Miriam asked, trying to quell the rising tide of emotion. It's a sign. I'm sure of it. Anna exclaimed with urgency. It's calling us. Something powerful is happening. Miriam's instinct kicked in. We must see it, together. She turned to her villagers, their faces painted with curiosity and trepidation. This could be the trial we were warned about, or perhaps it's a miraculous confirmation of our mission. A wave of determination settled over them again. Let us go. Ethan shouted, squeezing his mother's hand tight. With hearts pounding in anticipation, the villagers moved as a single entity towards the forest's edge. The air thickened with wonder, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting. Each step carried a sense of purpose and uncertainty. What awaited them in the depths of the woods? As they reached the brink of the trees, the glow began to illuminate the underbrush, casting dancing shadows that flickered with possibility. They stood at the threshold, gazing into the unknown, ready to face whatever God had in store. What light awaited them? And would they find strength in the trials that lay ahead? Miriam felt the swell of faith in her chest. This is just the beginning, she whispered, as the glow brightened. What happened next would change everything. As they stepped into the forest, the air changed. It felt electric, alive with an energy that pulsed like a heartbeat in their chests. The light grew brighter, illuminating the towering trees, transforming ordinary branches into shining spires reaching for heaven. Each flicker of light seemed to dance, beckoning them closer, as if inviting them into a sacred embrace. Miriam led the charge, Ethan clinging tightly to her side. The thrill of adventure coursed through the children, igniting squeals of delight mixed with awe. Look at that! Little voices erupted, pointing fingers in wonder as the glow intensified. Each stride they took felt lighter, the weight of their earlier fears dissipating like morning mist under the sun's gaze. Have faith, everyone. Miriam called, her voice cutting through the woods. Stay together and trust in his plan. The villagers moved as one, curiosity blossoming into a collective hope. They reached a small clearing where the light originated. A brilliant orb floated just above the ground, swirling with colors so vibrant they felt ethereal. It cast long shadows that danced like angels across the forest floor. Gasps escaped the crowd, an involuntary worship rising in their hearts as they beheld this celestial wonder. What is it? Ethan whispered, his eyes wide, reflecting the radiance. It's a sign from God, Miriam murmured, her heart swelling with reverence. The warmth emanating from the orb wrapped around her and those nearby, filling them with inexplicable peace. It was a divine presence, a confirmation of their mission to act in faith and devotion. Suddenly, the light pulsed, and a soft voice broke the stillness, gentle yet powerful. You have come seeking guidance, and you shall receive it. But with the call also comes trials. A hush fell over the crowd, as the weight of the words sank in. It was not merely a promise, it was a portent of challenges ahead. Miriam instinctively took a step forward, her resolve hardening. We will be ready, Lord. We stand united in faith. The villagers nodded, a chorus of agreement rising among them. They had gathered in this moment, not just before the light, but together as a community of believers. Each face reflected determination and trust. Remember, the voice continued, each trial shall forge your spirit. Your faith shall shine through the darkest nights. When you feel lost, remember this spellbinding light. It is a beacon of hope. As the message settled over them, murmurs of awe filled the clearing. We won't falter, someone promised. We will stand, echoed another. Then, as quickly as it came, the light began to dim, swirling back into itself, leaving behind only the radiant warmth lingering in the air. A sense of calm enveloped the villagers, though they were tinged with apprehension from the unveiled trials. Miriam turned to her community, her heart buoyed by the shared experience. We must prepare our hearts and minds, she urged. Trials are upon us, but with God, we can overcome anything. Ethan looked up, eyes sparkling with determination. I'm not scared, Mom. We can do this together. Miriam smiled, buoyed by his faith. They held hands, forming a chain of strength, a lineage of hope that stretched beyond their understanding. The trials ahead would be daunting, but God's promise had been entwined with their mission. As they began to retreat back toward the village, a thought lingered in Miriam's mind, stirring her deep within. What exactly would these trials reveal about their mission? And how would they rise to meet the challenges? Together, they faced the unknown, hearts ignited with divine purpose. This was just the beginning of something monumental. The journey back felt different. The woods, once alive with joy, now whispered with an air of solemnity. Each step forward felt weighted, though their spirits remained high. Miriam could see the flickering resolve in her community's eyes, yet shadows of uncertainty danced in the corners of their hearts. Trust him, she murmured, squeezing Ethan's hand. These trials will prepare us. Ethan, catching the hint of her fear, looked up and declared, We are strong together, Mom. His small voice rang with youthful optimism, breaking the tension like morning light. As they emerged from the tree line, the village came into view. The houses stood sturdy against the backdrop of an evening sky painted in hues of orange and pink. Yet something felt different. The air crackled with anticipation. Miriam! Called out a voice from the group behind. It was Elder Jacob, his eyes reflecting both excitement and concern. There's news. A storm is brewing on the horizon, a physical one, they say. Miriam felt a shiver of fear, but the memory of the orb pulsing with light filled her with courage. We must unite, she shouted. We've faced the unknown, and we will face this too. The villagers gathered closer, their faces lit up by the fading light of day. As they prepared, Miriam took a moment to pray. Lord, grant us wisdom, courage, and unity. Show us how to harness the strength you have given us. With each word, she felt like she was building an invisible shield around her community, a sanctuary of hope fortified by faith. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then growing heavier, drumming against the rooftops. But in this torrent, amidst the chaos, Miriam sensed an opportunity. Let us gather in the village square, she called. We need to share stories of faith. Remember the promise from the light. Slowly, they gathered, forming a circle, their hearts beating as one. As stories poured forth tales of resilience, divine encounters, and miraculous provisions, Miriam saw their fears begin to transform into hope. I remember, started little Anna, her dimpled cheeks glistening with raindrops. When my sheep went missing, he showed me the way back home. I prayed and walked, and there they were. Shouts of joy erupted, laughter mingling with the rain, washing away doubts. Encouraged, others shared their encounters, small miracles that seemed insignificant but glimmered with divine fingerprints. The storm, wild outside, seemed to retreat in the face of their shared faith. Miriam realized that these trials weren't just tests, they were invitations to deepen trust within their own hearts and with each other. Each storm not only threatened to break them but also sculpted their very existence into something more precious. Together, we rise. She proclaimed, feeling heat wash over her, warmth reminiscent of that radiant orb. But as their faith grew, a still small voice echoed in Miriam's heart, a reminder of the earlier warning, with the call also comes trials. She knew they were standing at the edge of something monumental, yet uncharted. What awaited them beyond this storm? Questions lingered in her heart like unanswered prayers. Would they face further tests that could shake their newfound strength? As the rain slowed and the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, a single thought flickered through her mind. What divine revelation awaited them next? As the dawn broke, a gentle light seeped into the village, casting golden rays on the rain-slicked ground. The world felt renewed, fresh with the promise of the day ahead. Miriam stood in the village square, her heart fluttering with anticipation. The storm had passed, leaving behind a peaceful hush, but she could feel within her that there was more to come. "Let us gather at the old oak," she suggested, her voice warm and steady. The villagers, their spirits buoyed, began to converge towards the massive tree, its branches reaching out like arms inviting their unity. This oak was ancient, a witness to countless stories shared beneath its shade, and today it would cradle yet another chapter of their lives. With each step, Miriam felt as if they were approaching a sacred moment. She sensed the unseen forces at play, weaving through their lives like the shifting breeze. "I have faith we will receive guidance," she said quietly, and it was as if those words harmonized with the fluttering leaves, echoing her hope. Once settled in the shade, Elder Jacob took a breath, looking around at the expectant faces. "In this sacred space, let us ask the Lord to reveal His plans. We have walked through shadows and emerged together, but are we ready for what He has in store?" His voice drummed softly, but it was laced with determination. Miriam nodded, the weight of the moment settling in her heart. She closed her eyes, enveloped in the stillness, seeking a thread of insight. "Lord, show us your will. Give us eyes to see, and hearts to understand," she prayed earnestly. Minutes felt like hours, yet in that divine stillness, something began to shift. Just then, a soft rustling filled the air. A dove, white as fresh snow, landed gently at the foot of the oak, its presence striking. Gasps of awe floated through the crowd, eyes widening as they witnessed this serene messenger of peace. Miriam's heart leaped. "Look! A sign!" she exclaimed, feeling a surge of hope. "Let it remind us of His promises." The dove fluffed its feathers, then gently cooed. It was as if it carried the breath of God, whispering assurance to everyone present. Then, as if on cue, a radiance broke through the branches above, illuminating the group in soft, ethereal light. A warm glow enveloped them, hearts swelling with the realization that they were cradled in divine favor. Ethan whispered beside her, his eyes wide, "Mom, it's beautiful." "He is here." Elder Jacob took a step forward, or reflected in his eyes. "This is God's confirmation. He is calling us to trust in His guidance. Each of us has our part to play, and the strength of our bond will carry us through." The atmosphere thickened with expectancy. Those present began to share their own revelations, mirroring the fluttering light of the dove. Each story painted a thread weaving through their lives. Miriam spoke of the orb again, recalling the flash of wisdom it brought. Others chimed in, recounting moments that intertwined their narratives, yet amidst the excitement, Miriam felt a heaviness in her heart, a sacred weight. A feeling that while they were given a glimpse of joy and peace, the road ahead would still have tests to forge their faith. "And with the call comes trials," she murmured to herself. As they shared stories, the air filled with a palpable energy, a unified spirit rising like a gentle tide. It dawned on Miriam that they would not only be invited into something spectacular but also called to withstand storms not yet seen. Just then, Elder Jacob's voice broke through the chatter. "The Lord lays before us a choice, trust or fear. What will we choose as we dare to step further into His purpose?" The question hung in the air, thick with gravity, a divine challenge awaiting their response. What would they decide? Would they grasp the light, knowing shadows may still dance at the edges of their journey? As the sun climbed, bathing them in warmth, a spark of anticipatory wonder flickered in Miriam's heart. What destiny awaited them as they continued to seek His face? The villagers remained hushed under the mighty oak's canopy, their hearts beating in unison with the pulse of the divine light that surrounded them. Miriam looked from face to face, the wonder in their eyes mirrored her own. In that moment, she felt a profound connection to each soul present, a tapestry of shared faith. "What happens now?" Ethan whispered, his youthful curiosity cutting through the stillness. Miriam reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. The faith of a child often carries a clarity missing from the complexities of adulthood. Elder Jacob moved slowly, thoughtfully, as if savoring the weight of their collective anticipation. To understand his calling, we must also understand his way, he began, his voice steady and clear. Are we prepared to trust not just in the sunny days, but also in the shadows that may come? Miriam felt that heavy ache again, a reminder that faith sometimes demands more than joy. It requires a willingness to step into the unknown with courage. Trust, she quietly echoed, holding those words close. Then, just beneath the oak, the dove cooed again, drawing all attention. It seemed to pulse with life, its gentle heartbeat a reminder of God's promise. Elder Jacob gently extended his hand, palm up, as if inviting the dove to trust him in return. The bird flitted to his hand, its small body a tender embodiment of peace. "Look at this miracle!" he exclaimed, eyes bright. "This dove is a sign our faith invites us to be messengers of peace, just as it embodies. But remember, peace also means facing storms together." The villagers exchanged knowing glances. The air was thick with unspoken fears and hopes. They sensed that the moment required more than words, it required commitment. They needed to decide how to step forward. Miriam closed her eyes again, her heart opening wide. "Lord, lead us to where we are needed," she prayed, her voice becoming firmer. As she prayed, she envisioned their village a place thriving in faith, love, and unity. "Let us be your hands and feet in this world." Suddenly, the dove took flight, soaring high above them, circling round as if weaving a dance of joy through the light. The villagers gasped, watching the bird trace sparks in the sky, free and fearless. Miriam's heart soared with it, each beat a prayer chasing the dove's ascent. Beneath the old oak, Elder Jacob raised his arms. "When we choose to trust him, we find our wings, too. Let us rise above doubt and embrace what lies ahead." His zeal ignited a fire within hearts, their faith began to bubble over. One by one, voices lifted in affirmation, echoing their resolve against uncertainty. Then, amidst the cheers, a somber chill danced through the air. Miriam felt it, an awareness that their choice would not be without sacrifice. Still, they were forged in hope. "Elder Jacob, what about those who fear?" a villager asked, her voice tremulous. He paused, contemplating. "Fear is but a shadow in the presence of faith. Together we can hold each other accountable, helping those who struggle. We are a family." Miriam nodded in agreement, warmth in her chest as gratitude flowed. "Let us remember we are never alone in our journey. The dove's flight reminds us of our collective freedom in Christ, illuminated by His grace." The challenges ahead were daunting, yet the spirit among them felt unbreakable. Each villager now bore the weight of a common calling, rooted in love, fueled by trust that as the sun reached its zenith, an undeniable truth settled over their gathering. They had been given wings to fly, yet it also dawned on Miriam that their flight would begin with a choice, one that demanded courage and unity. What steps would they take next? Would they soar together into the realms of God's promises, armed with faith against the gusts of uncertainty that threatened their journey? With hearts intertwined, they prepared to embrace the unfolding adventure of His calling. As the villagers stood beneath the ancient oak, the air was thick with an electric anticipation. Miriam held Ethan's hand tightly, her heart racing with the weight of what lay ahead. The sun shone brightly overhead, illuminating their faces in warm golden light, signaling a new dawn. They had faced storms, both internal and external, and emerged more robust than ever. Today, we embrace the calling that God has set before us. Miriam proclaimed, her voice ringing out with new conviction. Each of us plays a vital role in this community, and together, we will shine His light. Elder Jacob stepped forward, nodding in agreement. "Yes, we are our brother's keepers. As we move into our mission, we must also support one another through the trials that will test our faith." There was a unity in his words, a binding thread woven from shared resolve. Suddenly, the dove that had circled above swooped low, landing delicately at Miriam's feet. It cooed softly, its presence a tangible reminder of peace and divine affirmation. The villagers gasped in unison, feeling the serenity wash over them. "This dove is a symbol of God's promise," Miriam exclaimed, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We carry forth his message of love and unity to the world, and we shall be protectors of that peace." Elder Jacob raised his arms, summoning the attention of the villagers. "Let us pray, right here, right now. Ask God for guidance in this endeavor, and the strength to navigate the trials to come." As they bowed their heads in collective prayer, Miriam's spirit soared. In the stillness that enveloped them, she felt the echo of the orb in the forest and the warmth of the divine presence. Each heart whispered their hopes, fears, and commitments. It was a divine exchange, a covenant made in faith. When they finished, Miriam sensed the air shift, an undercurrent of determination filled the atmosphere. "Let us break ground on our plans," she said. "Let us channel our dreams of service into practical action. I've seen the light of unity among us, now, let it guide every step we take." The villagers murmured their agreement, excitement bubbling like living water. Ideas flowed freely as they began brainstorming ways to serve the community. "What about a soup kitchen?" someone suggested. "Or a weekly prayer meeting to keep each other uplifted?" Another villager chimed in, "A mentorship program for the youth, a chance to pass on our experiences." Ethan, fired up with determination, raised his voice. "I can help organize activities for the kids, teach them about our faith." A wave of enthusiasm washed over the group as they rallied behind him. Miriam smiled at her son, his youthful passion igniting hope. "That's a wonderful idea, Ethan. Everyone matters in this mission." Days turned into weeks, and the village blossomed with activity and purpose. Every corner buzzed with hope, laughter and song flowed freely as they laid the groundwork together. The prayers they offered knitted a tapestry of love that wove their hearts closer. Even the skeptics began to soften, slowly becoming part of this divine movement, but then, as if anticipating their joy, a challenge arose. A fierce storm tore through their village, rain lashing against roofs and winds whipping like a wild beast. Miriam felt the familiar chill of fear creeping in, but then she remembered the orb in the forest and the light it brought. "Hold strong," she urged the villagers, her voice cutting through the howling winds. "This storm will not break us. It is a reminder of our strength." As they huddled together for shelter, the spirit among them remained unyielding. Each rain-drenched face spoke of hope and faith. They knew they were not alone. They had one another, bound by love forged in trial. When the storm finally passed, they stepped out into a wondrous sight. Sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the aftermath. It was an eerily beautiful landscape. Fallen branches scattered the ground, but also, iridescent rainbows formed arcs in the sky, a divine promise that beauty could follow suffering. With courage ablaze, the villagers began clearing debris together, laughing and encouraging one another along the way. "Look! Here's a branch to use for the new playground," Ethan shouted, pointing to a large fallen limb. Laughter erupted, and as they worked together, the villagers saw those fallen branches not as symbols of destruction but as potential mirrors of their own resilience. As they rebuilt, heart by heart, Miriam felt an unshakable truth solidifying within her, a conviction that trials were not merely obstacles but opportunities for growth and affirmation of faith. Days turned into months, and with each trial they weathered, they emerged stronger, united in love and service. The villagers formed bonds that transcended their initial doubts. Where skepticism once thrived, faith now flourished. Gathered once more under the loving branches of the old oak, Miriam spoke again, her voice steady and sure. "Look at what we have built together. What was once a smattering of voices searching for truth has transformed into a symphony of hope. We are a family, connected by our trials and victories alike." Elder Jacob smiled, nodding. "And our journey is far from over. We must remain vigilant to the call that brought us here and continue to cultivate peace and love in our community." With tears of joy, surrounded by the people she cherished most, Miriam felt the presence of divine purpose wrap around them like a warm embrace. They had faced darkness together, they had been forged in the trials, and now, they stood together unbreakable, steadfast, and full of unwavering faith in God as promised. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and purple across the sky, Miriam whispered a prayer of gratitude, her heart racing with hope. Thank you, Lord, for every moment. May our faith shine brightly, guiding our path ahead. And in that beautiful silence, with arms wrapped around one another, the villagers knew something profound: a legacy of faith and service had begun. They would carry that light into the world to remind others that even in the darkest storms, hope and love could unite and transform a community. This was their calling, and they would answer it with all their hearts. If this story has stirred your heart and awakened your spirit, now is the time to take action. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that can uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help share this message of hope. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation of divine promise. Let us spread the faith together.